Hey guys, good morning, Flamengo Nation. This is Flamengo. Welcome to the Paparazzo Rubro Negro channel. If you're new, please follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down below, turn on notifications by clicking the bell, and give the video a like. Today we're here thanks to Leão Infusões, your favorite tea, and nothing says Rio more than Flamengo, the Brazilian national team, and Leão. Man, Leão is fantastic, and you can find Leõezinhos in the Leão Infusões boxes. You buy your tea, and you might end up winning one of the 25,000 Leõezinhos. Look how beautiful this is, right? Just imagine, wow, collecting them, finding them. If you drink a lot of Leão, you have a better chance, right? And besides, it's a fantastic tea, right? I love Leão. I'm a fan. Man, I love Leão. So let's go. We're also here thanks to steak, right? Remember, man, it's very important to play responsibly. It's for people over 18. It's for fun, not an investment. And man, steak is fantastic. I found some amazing odds in the Brazil versus Egypt game. For example, I made a parlay, right? I created the bet and I found amazing odds with things that I couldn't find on any other platform. For example, more than 3.5 saves by the Egyptian goalkeeper. So I created it, adding Brazil to win, a goal in the first half, more than 3.5 saves by the Egyptian goalkeeper, and the odds turned out great. So go ahead and register right now on one of the best platforms in the world, right? Just a reminder that you can also register using the link that's in the pinned comment and in the description, okay? I left it there for you. So Stake is a very well-known company, and you can register right now and bet on the World Cup. Man, it's the World Cup with games almost every day, right? You're only going to have great matches. This World Cup promises to be fantastic, and you'll be able to choose, make your picks, and follow our tips. I'll also leave the link to our Telegram tips channel here for you to access, because there will be a lot of great tips and definitely a lot of tips from Stake. Well, let's go. Our other sponsors are here: Caravana do Aru, Haroldo, Mais Cabello, right? The Mais Slim Weight Loss Program, and everyone else who's with us. Assist 365 for your travels. I'll leave the link there too, so you can travel fully insured. If you have any emergency, you won't have to pay out of pocket. You'll be at ease, okay? If you have an emergency with Assiste 365, right, which is the travel insurance that keeps you safe in Mexico, Canada, the United States at the World Cup. Let's go, friends. Check this out. We have some information here. It's important. Awesome. Glenda Kozlovic covered Ederson's arrival in the United States. She covered both Ederson's departure and arrival. She posted it, and then I tagged her. She let us know on Insta, Gabriel, that she's also coming here starting tomorrow, right? She still needs to get her credentials. Do you know where it is? I do. Glenda, I'm recording here. I'm talking to you. I'm heading over to the credentialing now, okay? It's at MetLife. I'll send you the exact location on WhatsApp. So today is the day for everyone to arrive and get their credentials, right? Our dear Glenda Rubro Negra is here talking with us. She was the one who filmed Ederson. Unfortunately for Wesley, Ederson is showing up and we're really rooting for his success. But unfortunately for Wesley, our great right back, our homegrown player, we feel really sad. But we have to root for those who are coming in, right? I'll show you here the picture that Glenda Kozlovic posted. Take a look, just look. Just look. Look at the plane over there. Take a look. Bye, Ederson. Bye. Wait. Arriving in the United States then, Ederson is going to report to the national team at the Brazilian team's training camp, okay? So, yeah, good luck, all the luck in the world to the substitute, and let's hope Brazil doesn't have any more injured players, okay? Yesterday we had Morocco and Norway drawing right nearby here in New Jersey. Yeah, Morocco took the lead. And it's worth noting how much the Norwegian players felt the heat. And for me, this World Cup is going to be extremely physical, and we should see the European teams, except for those with many naturalized African players, struggling a lot, really struggling. Teams with African players have an advantage since they handle the heat better. Players from teams like Norway, for example, teams like that with many players used to the cold, it's really hot here. This World Cup is really going to be very hot. Let me bring you some very important information about the transfer market. Fabrício Kika, who is very well informed about everything, stadiums, the market, finances, he knows a lot. I really like Fabrício Kika's content. Yeah, when we reported the news that Flamengo wouldn't have that much money to sign players, that it would be between 10 and 20 million euros, Fabrício Kika has now provided an explanation. One thing that I thought was very good is that Flamengo has between 10 and 15 million euros available for signings in this transfer window. But that doesn't mean the club is limited to signing only players within that price range. Flamengo, for example, can sign a player valued at 40 million euros as long as the deal is structured so that most of that amount is paid over the next few years. Okay? The club makes a down payment and pays the rest in installments. This is a common practice in world football. Besides that, Flamengo has gained credibility in the market in recent years, which increases the possibilities of structuring deals like this. The board knows that the club has a good cash flow outlook for 2027, and because of that, they believe there won't be any problems handling bigger investments in the future. So this situation with Flamengo not having cash on hand to pay a lot this time, according to even Fabrício Kika, and I share the same opinion, it puts much more pressure on Jose Boto. The one under pressure at Flamengo right now is Jose Boto, pressured to make good deals, since he had a lot of money in previous transfer windows. And he signed, right? Players like Lucas Paquetá, Jorginho, high-level players, Samulino, he signed players, expensive players, and now the money we can say up front, Flamengo doesn't have much. Flamengo can pay in installments, defer the payment, make good deals like I explained yesterday, right? Since João Gomes might go to Atletico Madrid, you have 35 million raised coming in from that, from the solidarity mechanism, among other things. You negotiate with Atletico Madrid, which is the one that has to pay it. They're the ones who have to pay the mechanism. You negotiate with them already, and you're going to do a joint operation, signing Thiago Almada. So I really think it's possible to sign Almada since they want 20 million euros for 50% of the rights. I believe Flamengo can easily pay in installments. As Kika pointed out, if Corinthians or any other club competes with Flamengo to pay in installments, who would they trust in negotiations? Flamengo, which just signed Samuel Lino for a high price, doesn't owe anyone and pays on time, unlike other clubs, Flamengo. Flamengo has the advantage. Now Boto is under pressure to get a good deal, to get an installment plan, to avoid paying everything up front. Let's bring Fabrício Kika here to explain this better, just so we can comment on it. Let's take a look.
Flamengo has around 15 million euros available for signings now in this mid-year transfer window.
Between 10 and 15.
But Flamengo can sign a player who is worth much more than that. How is Flamengo going to do that? I'll tell you in this video here, so make sure to follow me here.
Here.
So you can stay well informed.
Word ball and spin. Put this on the ball and spin. G.
10 to 15 million euros is a lot of money. Flamengo fans might be a little disappointed, and fans of other clubs might be making some jokes about this, because some people remember that Boto said Flamengo would have $1 billion raised to invest in soccer operations. It wasn't for signings, it was for soccer operations covering salaries, training center upkeep, youth teams, etc. Even so, it created an expectation of a lot more money. Well, Flamengo currently has 10 to 15 million euros in cash to spend. Just so you have an idea, those $10 million, dollars or euros, that amount is about the same as the transfer fee paid by Corinthians for the three players, Martinez, Garros, and Charles. It's 10 million euros in transfer fees. Flamengo has 10 million euros to spend. Well, starting there, 10 to 15. Now just imagine how Flamengo can spend more than they have, 10. Well, that's because of some confusion. When Flamengo signed Paquetá, for example, paying 50 million euros, the club records the expense.
The full amount for Paquetá, commissions included. That's not...
It doesn't mean Flamengo will pay 50 million euros this year. It's the same when signing players. Flamengo will now have to exercise its negotiating power, and that puts a lot of pressure on Jose Boto. Flamengo can sign a player worth, for example, 40 million euros as long as that amount is paid next year. Flamengo pays a down payment and covers the rest in later years, a common practice in world football. This happens often. Picture Flamengo and Corinthians both after the same player. Flamengo, 4 million euros. For example, both clubs offer 10 million euros this year and the rest next year.
For which club? Flamengo.
Would this team sell the player to Flamengo or to Corinthians? Flamengo, definitely to Flamengo. In recent years, Flamengo has developed great credibility in the market, which allows Boto the possibility to put together deals like this. Flamengo knows it, and now it's time for them to prove it.
The 2027.
Flamengo has a good cash position and won't have any problem covering a slightly higher amount. It will be up to Boto to carry out this negotiation process. So far, we've always seen Flamengo buying players either for a very high price or for the asking price. Now, besides that, we'll need to see Flamengo paying for players in installments so it fits within this transfer window.
And Boto will need to negotiate.
I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, subscribe here. Take care.
That's it, Kika. Now, Boto will have to work. He'll have to negotiate. I'm going to talk now about the possible departure of Ayrton Lucas. Yeah, according to journalist Angelo Furtado, Santos and Flamengo are still negotiating the transfer of the left back. Even though Flamengo's management, a source close to the board, denies it and says Flamengo is not selling Ayrton Lucas, Angelo's information is that Ayrton is in transfer talks. Yeah, there's still an obstacle, right, for the deal to be finalized. According to Angelo, the São Paulo club wants to sign the player on loan with an option to buy at the end of the loan spell and also take on the player's full salary during that period, okay? On the other hand, Flamengo is willing to let him go on loan, but they require the inclusion of an obligation to buy, not just an option to buy. The agreement between Santos and Ayrton Lucas's representatives is already well underway, with only an agreement between the clubs remaining for the deal to be finalized. Yeah, we also have to point out that the fullback has a contract with Flamengo until December 2027. Before long, that whole issue starts. It's the last year and all that, so this is the moment. If you're going to negotiate, Flamengo, now is the time, right? If they're going to renew, now's the time. If they're going to negotiate, now's the time. If there's a good deal to be made, it's now. So the purchase obligation, I agree that's ideal because you make it mandatory through performance targets or some other condition. You make it mandatory there, you loan the player and force Santos to buy the player from Flamengo. Now, you can exactly go ahead. We just talked about the issue of installments. How do you do installments when you guarantee something for the future? So, if you have a possible sale of Ayrton Lucas guaranteed for the future, right? An obligation to buy, you can sign another fullback, counting on that sale there in the future as well. So that's very important, okay? Flamengo does this financial maneuvering to be able to strengthen the team, to be able to make some changes there, right? He's a player who's been questioned by the fans. Even though I like Ayrton, I think he's a fantastic guy, a player who's already delivered, right? He's very talented, a national team player, but he hasn't been performing as well lately. He's not in great form. He's not playing well right now. Honestly, I don't have the courage to ask for Ayrton to leave because I think he's a player who, as I said before, has already had great moments at Flamengo. Just like I saw a lot of people criticizing Rossi too, I think it's an exaggeration to ask for him to leave. Honestly, Ayrton isn't doing well right now, but if there's a deal, make it a good one. He's not worth anything while at Flamengo, but once he leaves, he gains value. That's a factor too. National team player. You may be upset with him, but he's on the national team. We've already talked about Ederson's arrival and, Wesley being cut. And now we're going to talk about Wesley's situation with Roma, right? According to GE, Wesley is expected to be out of action for at least 40 days, which will even disrupt Roma's training and preparations and everything else. With that in mind, Roma has already taken action, okay? The test done on Sunday showed a grade 3 injury, man. Man, that's a serious injury to the right back Wesley's left thigh, considered the most severe grade for this type of muscle injury. On Roma's recommendation, the academy product actually flew to Italy on Sunday, and there he'll have an MRI already next Tuesday, okay? That's tomorrow. So from there, the player will follow the recovery schedule set by the Italian club, already focusing on preparing for the start of the European season. It's sad. We're really upset to see Wesley going through this. He doesn't deserve it, right? He really deserved to be world champion, to fight for this title. Unfortunately, yeah, it didn't work out. This problem happened, but I'm sure he'll come back even stronger for the next World Cup cycle. My friends, look, let's talk now about Danilo's situation, right? I've always told you that if he's going to stay in Brazil, he's closer to Palmeiras than to Flamengo, right? Botafogo has made a decision and ruled out involving Danilo in a trade with Palmeiras, okay? A journalist reported this, I'll share it with you. Look, Wellington Arruda from the Fogalnet portal reported this. They are very well informed about Botafogo, and Danilo is at Botafogo, right? They completely rule out involving Danilo in a possible trade with any Palmeiras player. No trade happened. In other words, Palmeiras tried to make a trade. Man, nobody has a lot of money. That's the truth. Money available to sign players right now. And besides, we've already told you that Danilo's preference is Europe. I'm going to bring you another important piece of information as well. He's considered internally as one of the main assets of the Rio club, right? That's why Botafogo demands at least 40 million euros, about 238 million reais at the current exchange rate, to sell the player outright, okay? So Botafogo, right, doesn't want to, okay, trade. They prioritize a straight sale, which makes the signing more difficult. Yeah, from Palmeiras. Besides that, there's the issue of Danilo not wanting to be in Brazil right now. His statement, actually, I'm at the age to be in Europe, okay? So look, he gave an interview to Globo Esporte where he said the following. It was very difficult. I'm at a stage in my career where I should be in Europe, but my serious injury made me lose my place at Nottingham. At first, I didn't want to return to Brazil. I had in mind to bounce back and shine, but that's football and we can't control these things. In other words, he didn't even want to come back to Brazil. He wanted to stay there. So, if for Flamengo, which has no connection to Danilo at all, even if Flamengo can prove it's going to pay and Flamengo has credit, all that, if Flamengo has difficulty, imagine any other club. Palmeiras obviously has a connection with the player there, right? And has done business with Botafogo, which makes things easier, but the player wants to go to Europe, okay? Yeah, I came back with the fear that I hadn't done the right thing. It was a project for the World Cup. And again, I had injuries that got in my way. So the fear I had before became reality. He ended up being called up, right? Yeah, that step back worked out to be in good shape for the national team. A step back that actually meant 2 or more steps forward. In other words, making it clear that his next step is a move to Europe and not staying in Brazil. Okay? So to me, Danilo's desire was very clear. That's it. I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe below, turn on the notification bell, and leave a cool like on the video. Thank you so much for your company. Greetings from Bruno Negras. This is Flamengo. Big hug. Thanks. I'm out.